Why Canada? That is an amazing first question to start with. Why are we going to Canada and why now?
That is a great question. Canada is our neighbors to the north, in case
Yes.
you did not know. Their population is about 37 million people, and about 80% of those people live within 100 miles of the border.
That's awesome.
With the U.S. They are huge in direct selling as well. They love direct selling. There are about 1.3 million direct sellers, independent sales consultants in Canada. Of those, 95% of them would recommend becoming an independent sales consultant to someone who wasn't.
That's awesome.
So they love it, they embrace it. They're top 70, or they have 75 companies that are there. They have a whole lot of customers, over 14 million customers that are
And
that
we have
participate.
been getting a lot of requests from Canada to expand, and we know that a lot of you live close to the border, and this is just such an amazing opportunity.
Such an opportunity.
To share that with people who live on the other side of the border.
Well, that, and they are a lot like us here in the United States. They are creative, they are diverse, they're educated, so they just fit with what Chalk Couture is all about.
Absolutely. Okay, well said. Next question.
Well, Christine, what is the timing to open up Canada?
It's all about timing. We know this. Now, we have already opened pre-registration. We opened that on January 12th. Pre-registration is a period, and we don't know exactly how long it will last, but we hope to keep it as short as possible because we would like to get to enrollment. Timing is dependent on a couple of factors, specifically approval by the Canadian Competition Bureau, the CCB. It is the equivalent of the FTC.
Federal Trade Commission.
Federal Trade Commission in the United States, and they are really thorough about reviewing all of our plan documents. We are under review right now, and as soon as we receive the thumbs up and the go-ahead, we will move from pre-registration, the time when we are gathering people's information, giving them that soft hold, and then we will move to enrollment. Our goal is that this is in the mid to late spring. The other reason, and I think this is a biggie, that we are working on the timeline that we are, is that by building that pre-registration list, we also help us really understand demand can you speak to operational impact? Because that's a biggie in timing.
Absolutely. I mean, if you think about the thousands of people who will end up ultimately enrolling in Canada, to have them all flood in at once with very little information and a rollout is chaotic. It's just operationally a super big challenge. Probably the least of which is just making sure we have the product to support it.
Right.
So now that we'll have several weeks, if a couple months of knowing who's coming into the business, who's likely to enroll, we'll be able to respond appropriately and make sure we have product.
Yep.
Because
as well as training, too.
And
so
training as well.
It's just such a good balance. So this pre-registration timeline is not just about waiting. This is a chance for every single one of us in the U.S., as well as the prospective designers in Canada, to get educated so that we can all learn about policies and procedures, product training, and it gives Jeff and the operations team time to make sure that there is an abundance of product in the warehouse ready to support when we switch to enrollment.
That's it.
All right.
As a U.S. designer, how is it, or how may I connect with people in Canada to help build up my team?
So I think this question is all about communication and what's permitted. So Canada has very different communication laws than we do as it relates to email particularly. I think one of the best ways for US designers and Canadians to connect is via social media. Many of you are already doing this, and I think it's fantastic. You can share as a US designer or as a prospective Canadian designer. You can share on Facebook, you can use videos from YouTube, you can do all kinds of things like this. What you cannot do, if you live in the US, you cannot email people in Canada without their express consent first. So we're a lot looser in the US with our CAN-SPAM laws. In Canada, the CASL, the Canadian Anti-Spam legislation, is a little bit more strict. You do have to have an explicit yes from a Canadian before you send them a message, and we really encourage you to do that so that it expedites our great opinion from the Canadian Competition Bureau.
Yeah, but social media is
It's great.
Really
social
great.
media is the best way to go. And we've also been asked, another big question is, whether I am in the US or in Canada, and I am starting to do a lot of pre-registering, can I create a Facebook group, a closed group for those people? Yes, please do.
Please do.
This is a great way to support your prospective Canadian team because they're not yet designers and they are not customers. So it's a great way to start creating your community, sharing some training, some tips and tricks and ideas, and kind of getting a sense for who they are. You will be able to reach out to those who have pre-registered right under you. And then if you want to reach a couple more levels deep, you'll just need to work with your first line on inviting others at those depths so that we can maintain privacy law too.
That's it.
Okie doke, on
All
we
right.
go. Okay, Jeff, I keep using these terms, pre-registration and prospective designer, and then we talk about enrollment. I think it would help if you could talk about the difference between
Yes.
pre-reg and enrollment.
It's a great question, and it's really critical that everyone understand this. For those Canadians that pre-register, they are not a designer. They have not signed an agreement. They have not purchased a starter kit. They are basically securing their spot, that they're declaring that they're interested in becoming a designer and no more. So during this period, we consider them registrants or they're pre-registered. As soon as we give the go, those that have pre-registered will be able to enroll and actually sign a designer agreement with Chalk Couture Canada and purchase a starter kit and do all those things. So now they become a full-fledged designer with all of the rights associated with being Chalk Couture independent
Which
designer.
also means that those Canadians who you are pre-registering, they cannot yet represent themselves as an independent designer. They have simply indicated an interest in becoming a designer.
That's exactly right.
And they are welcome to share the message and to start pre-building their teams, but they aren't yet a designer like you are.
Right, nor can they sell the product or represent the product in any way. Those are very important things to remember.
Perfect.
Okay, Christine, what happens after a Canadian pre-registers?
Okay, first, just the literal process. After a Canadian completes the registration process, they will immediately get a confirmation and welcome email. We have had some folks saying that they haven't seen those. Now, because this is the first email that they ever get from Chalk Couture, we might be going into their spam folders. So if you are trying to sponsor a pre-registrant in Canada and they don't get an email immediately after registering, ask them to go check their spam folder for sure. So they'll get that email. We're also going to provide you, the US designer, with some email samples, some verbiage that you can use so that you can follow up with that Canadian pre-registrant just to welcome them so that they're not wondering, did this happen? Do I have an advisor? Do I have a sponsor? How is this working? We'll provide you some great support for that. The other thing that happens is that our awesome designer services team will invite them, will work to make sure that they get into our Canadian pre-registrants Facebook page. It's a closed group just for Canadians who have pre-registered, and once they're in there, they will receive just some regular ongoing connection from designer services, from training and development, and from Jeff and I just popping in regularly to make sure we're answering their questions as they wait, as they learn. This will be a great opportunity for them to get exposure to our policies and procedures so that they can review those before they enroll, to learn some how-tos on our product, all those kind of things. So we are in no way trying to compete or duplicate what you may be doing in your closed groups, but to continue to provide them just a good, consistent space to be during this pre-registration window.
So, next question, Christine.
Yes?
What comes in the Canadian starter kit?
Well, funny you should ask, since it's right here in front of me. Our goal with the starter kit is that the Canadian starter kit is really as close as possible to what US designers receive. Because of some laws in Canada, we do need to separate the contents into two distinct kits. One that is required and one that is optional. So we hope that you as US designers are encouraging your new Canadian team members when they enroll to take both, because both will really help them get going.
Right,
The
they'll
best,
get the good product and everything else.
Totally. Here's what is included in the required kit, which will be available for $19 Canadian plus shipping. It will include the business items, so they will get their apron, they will get the Chalk Couture current catalog, they will also get the startup guide, they will get the thank you card pack, and they will get the two transfers that are most business builder, the vision board, and they will also get, whoops, I've got it upside down, the Make Money Beautifully, Ask Me How, Business Builder Transfer. That's what they will get for $19. If they choose to add on the optional pack, that is kind of where all the fun is. Right?
I think so.
It's $110 Canadian, so if they buy both, it gets them to $129, which is very comparable.
Conversion to 99.
To the US dollar.
Yep.
Exactly right. So they will get the 5 colors of paste, which may vary a bit season to season, depending on when they join, but this is what's in the spring-summer kit. They will get their squeegee. They will get the remaining 6 A and B size transfers. They will get the, one of them will be Club Couture, and they will get 2 surfaces, the boutique surface and the Aiden board. Ta-da. So
nice.
Really our goal is to give them everything that a US designer receives. Just in 2 easy, and they'll be able to buy them both when they enroll.
At the time they enroll.
Yep.
They'll be able to select both.
Now I know one thing that is on everybody's mind, Canadians and US alike, is compensation plan. So I'm going to turn this over to the money guy. Talk to us a little bit about how the Canadian compensation plan will differ, if at all, from the US.
Well, great question. And the hope is that it won't differ at all. We really want it to be consistent from the US to Canada, with simply the payout being in Canadian dollars instead of US dollars.
Explain how that works, because I think that how PV is accrued and how the payout works.
Yeah, great. Another great question. Really the most confusing part, I think, is that. How does PV work? And maybe it's more of a change of thinking than an actual change to the plan, where think of PV as a currency type. So we have US dollar, right? You can buy an item in the US, say for $20. In Canada, it will be in Canadian dollars. It'll be about, what, $25-ish, $25, $26. Well, PV also has the same value assigned to it. It's a value is all it is, and
so
it's
really,
by product.
Whether I buy a 9x12 Aiden board in the US or whether it is purchased in Canada, it will generate the same
exact
PV.
same PV value.
So for whether you're working on activity for a Canadian designer, or you're trying to calculate your team volume or your enterprise volume for the purpose of qualification, it's the same at the product level.
Yep, at the product level, and that's essentially how team volume, enterprise volume, all that stuff is calculated, adding the PVs of all those items in all those orders.
So designer debut,
designer
dollars.
Should be the same. Designer dollars, same thing. At the 20 designer dollars will have the same value,
the same purchasing power
in the U.S. as it does in Canada.
And would still be earned on the same levels.
Earned on the same levels.
200 PV will still generate 20 designer dollars.
That's exactly right.
Awesome. Easy cheesy.
Yep.
Okay, now for the rest of the time that we have together, we thought we would talk through some common scenarios that we are seeing designers ask. So let's take Callie. Callie is a Canadian. Mary
Wait,
lives
which province is she in?
Oh, stop. Callie is a Canadian.
Canadian from Calgary.
Sure, she can do that. And then Mary is from Michigan, which is in the United States.
Got it.
Okay, so Mary signs up, pre-registers Callie, and now Callie is wondering, can I go ahead and also start pre-registering other people? And the answer is
yes.
Yes, please do.
Please do. Now's the opportunity.
So let's say Callie has a little sister who lives in Calgary, and Callie's mom though lives in LA. Can she sign both of them up? They're both her family.
She can sign up her sister, of course. There are other rules around that. She can't be in the same household. But assuming that she's not, she can absolutely sign up her sister. Her mother lives in
Los Angeles.
Let's
just say.
The answer to that,
Los Angeles.
Lucy from Los Angeles. Okay, Lucy. However, she cannot sign up Lucy until she's a full-blown designer, because Lucy can sign up in the U.S. right now anyway.
Right.
Okay, so she can pre-register other Canadians. There's no reason that Mary needs to be pre-register in the U.S. because she's already in the U.S. Now, once she enrolls as a Canadian, then she can absolutely sign up.
Sponsor.
Yep, she can sponsor Mary.
So I guess that's in that scenario. U.S. designers may sponsor and pre-register both Canadians and U.S. folks, right?
Correct.
But if you live in Canada, at this time you may only pre-register other Canadians.
That is absolutely correct.
But as soon as enrollment goes live, everybody can cross border.
Both directions.
Yahoo! We believe in that. Okay, so now let's look at another scenario, and I'm going to try and keep it nice and clean for you. So we've still got our friend Callie, who is a Canadian. She's signed up under Mary from Michigan. And Callie shares the love of Chalk Couture, and she pre-registers 10 other people. But something happens, life changes, and when enrollment comes around, Callie decides not to enroll. But the 10 people who she had shared the opportunity with do.
Okay.
All of them. So I think the question is, those 10 people had committed to sign up under Callie. Callie didn't sign up. Now who is their sponsor? Who is their
Great.
advisor? Is it Mary who's in the US? Do they find someone else in Canada? And if it is Mary in the US, does Mary count as their personally sponsored advisor, or is she just an advisor?
Okay, 2 questions.
Yeah,
Let's
it's
take
like
the
5
first
questions.
one. It's
Sorry.
a lot of questions. Let's
Work
take the
through
first
that
one.
whole scenario for me.
Okay. So first of all, Callie, when she signs up, pre-registers 10. First of all, why would she not enroll?
She has other stuff.
I know, but
You don't
that's
know
just
her life.
silly.
You don't know her life.
Don't. But okay, so let's just say she doesn't.
Yes.
Those 10 would naturally roll up to be under Mary, okay? Because we respect the tree.
Absolutely.
If someone doesn't enroll, first of all, Callie at that point has lost the rights to those that she pre-registered. So she can't come back in later and say, but wait, I had those 10 people, now you got to move them back.
Right.
No, so if she doesn't
And
enroll.
I think we're looking at making a very specific timeline.
Yes, there is a
so
cutoff.
Everyone on the pre-registration list will have an opportunity to enroll, and if they miss that deadline,
Yes.
then they lose the right, they forfeit the right to anybody that they have pre-registered.
Yes, that is exactly
Okay.
right. So they will roll up to Mary in the U.S. Now, there may be times, and this will be an exception, when, let's say, I'm one of those, and I don't feel comfortable with being to have Mary as my direct upline.
I just don't know Mary.
I just don't know Mary,
Yeah.
and I feel more comfortable with having someone from Canada be my upline, be my direct advisor and sponsor. There may be exceptions to that, and we will honor those exceptions. But in general, it's just a complete roll-up.
Like
and
a
they go to
traditional
Mary.
compression.
Yep. But here's the good news. Because these pre-registered Canadians aren't enrolled, they have never signed an agreement with us, they will count, when they do roll up, they will count as both advisor and personally sponsored
sponsor.
to Mary.
Which is
in this
great. So
case.
even though in this particular case, Mary didn't know these 10 people, because she would essentially adopt them right at day one and be
Right.
the only sponsor that they've ever known,
Yeah.
she will count as their personally sponsored, which means she will get their coaching bonus.
She will get the coaching bonus.
is their sponsoring bonus
the
and the
sponsoring
coaching bonus.
They
Both of
they will
them.
count as qualified personally
Yay.
sponsored when they qualify.
Yeah, we just believe really strongly that every designer who joins Chalk Couture should have the opportunity to choose their initial sponsor. That's
Yep.
really important to us. So even though this soft tree placement will hold people in their places, and we're really going to honor that, if an upline does not enroll, we need to at least provide a way, by exception, that those people get a chance
Yes.
to choose. Everybody
Yes.
needs to have that chance to choose. You got the chance to choose your initial sponsor, and so should everybody who joins
Yep.
Chalk Couture.
But to be clear also, it is a direct compression,
Yeah,
right? I mean,
straight up.
that is the default.
Yeah, and
unless
that's
there
part
is an
of why
exception.
we're doing pre-registration, is to help you have a sense of order and structure in your teams. We absolutely think that's a huge benefit to everybody, regardless of where you live.
So Mary in Michigan.
Yes.
She lives 10 miles from the border.
Wow.
Okay, I know. She's basically Canadian, but she's not. She lives in Michigan.
Right up there in the mitten.
Yes, she's in the mitten. Can she travel across the border into Canada and sell goods at an event or whatever in person? Can she recruit at that event? And second question, can she sell her finished goods that she makes in Canada?
Okay, I think this is going to happen a lot, especially since so many Canadians and U.S. designers will be so close to that border. Here's the quick answer to that. Mary, if she's got team members that live across the border and she wants to go support them at an event that they are doing, she can absolutely go and help work the booth. She can help support them with sponsoring. The product that is sold at that booth needs to be ordered and inventoried by Canadians.
The Canadian.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So the Canadians will need to provide the inventory that is sold in Canada. Mary can go and help. She can go and support their sponsoring, because she can also sponsor at that Canadian event. And because Chalk Couture does not govern finished goods
Right.
or the sales of finished goods. So if Mary has made some beautiful framed artwork or some other pieces, she chooses to take those to the show, she can sell those. She just needs to be responsible for managing
Right.
all
That's
of her
all-
taxes
that's
and
all up to her.
licensing is all on her.
Yep, that's it.
Okay, Jeff, I have the last scenario of the day. Thanks for hanging with us and watching this. The last scenario is we're getting a lot of questions about people who have dual citizenship. So Callie from Calgary actually has dual citizenship in the US
and Canada.
And
Okay.
she wants to know if she'll be able to sell in both countries because she even has residency in both countries. Maybe she lives 6 months of the year in both countries. She has a shipping address in both countries.
Okay.
Can she sell in both countries?
Ooh, great question.
Right?
Okay, so the answer is no, she can't. It's a simple answer, however, let me explain a little
Okay.
bit why. As a designer, you may sign one designer agreement, and that needs to be either with Chalk Couture Canada Incorporated or Chalk Couture LLC. You can't sign both. It's not about where your residency is or your citizenship, it's about where that entity has
Your designer agreement is.
Yes, where your designer agreement is, because Chalk Couture LLC does not have authorization to sell in Canada.
Makes sense.
Neither can its people or its independent sales force. Same thing in Canada. The Chalk Couture Canada Incorporated
backward.
can't sell in the U.S.
Easy.
And so that's
So it's a really easy answer. It's less about where you live or where your citizenship is. It's all about which designer agreement did you sign. So easy. I hope that this has been an informative FAQ for you. We are thrilled as Chalk Central to be able to be bringing this amazing company to thousands and thousands and hopefully millions and millions more people across the US and across Canada. We're going to be providing so much more training and support to both our Canadian prospective designers as well as to those of you who are working so hard to expand your strong teams into Canada. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, everybody.
And we'll see you again soon.